I think is that, when at the point of giving out the loan, at the point of, you know, writing the product paper, if they have to take into consideration one, how are these loans going to be disbursed? How many people, or how, at what level would these loans be given? For me, I'm thinking that it won't be for the first, the freshman, the first year level. I'm thinking that it should be from second year. The reasons are one, you don't just give out loans. I mean, I know there are criteria, but then I'm thinking that one of the criteria should be ability of people to sustain their education by their academic progress, the academic prowess. So by the time somebody finishes year one, you will now know the ability of the person. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, since there are so many students, giving out everything at the same time, I don't think, we are thinking of getting it back. What I'm thinking is that by the time that year two, you'd have known that their preparedness to study, then you give out this loan. At that time, the ones at the final year students are leaving. So you create room and give out to second year students. Then when you give it out to them, you also think of how do they pay back, saying that they are going to pay back 2 years after graduation. It's not, for me, it's not going to work. The reasons are, we all know how difficult it is for, people to get jobs in this country. So when you now say 2 years, maybe if some people 5 years after graduation, no job. So what do you mean is that if they don't have jobs, the money doesn't come back. You just, filter away the money. But when we think that, okay, fine, there are income generating projects in that, can be introduced in the universities, so that when you give out this loan, the students have job opportunities in schools. So when they pay them, they deduct part of the money at source. That's assuming they pay them 30,000 hypothetically. You now say, okay, out of this 30,000, we're going to be deducting 5,000 per month. Whatever you have given the students, is coming down from by that deduction. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. And then the next question maybe you might want to ask me is that, how do they create these projects, income generating projects in school? Well, I know that in most schools they have departments of agriculture. They can do poultry. I mean, the Department of Agriculture can have full poultry in school, where they can employ the students to work at least no more than 20 hours per week. When they work in the poultry, they are going to not only get paid. Remember, when you're working in poultry, you have meat, you have egg. All those things can be sold and money is made. They can also have fishery. They can have the fish ponds where they can, grow or rear fish. And then at the time of maturity, they sell, money comes back. Part of it will become what they use to pay the students. They can also grow things like corn, vegetables, and all that in school. Part of it will be sold, utilized in school, and then they'll use it for payment. Again, I remember when we were in school in Unilag, Vice Chancellor then was Jelili Omotala. Every space in school was converted into parking space, and people park and pay. They only left one side for students to park. Then that place, they don't pay. Do you understand? But all the other places, they park and pay, and part of the money is used to develop the school. So other schools can also borrow a leaf from that. They convert those places to parking. You park and pay. That is part of the money that is going to be generated. They can also rent out spaces for events. People wed, people do naming ceremony, they can commercialize those spaces and rent them out and generate funds. And students who work in those places. While they're working, they get paid. They can work in the library, You'll be asking, oh, how many people can work in the library? That's why I'm thinking of other income generating projects, like we talked about farming, we talked about pack and pay, we talked about other things. So when they do that, part of the money that they're going to use to pay the students will come from the school, and then you pay them, you cut, at source, you deduct what you can deduct. So by the time they're leaving school, let's assume that a student was given, let's say, 800,000 or 1 million, as the case may be. By the time they're leaving school, after 3 years, from that deduction, you'd have gotten part of that money. And then whatever is remaining, you now think of when they start work. As against leaving it like that and asking them to go after 2 years. You and I know that after 3 years at times, there's no job. Well, at the point of giving out loans, what I know at the point of giving out loans, you take some of these things into consideration. One, when the person has permanent disability or death. Do you understand? That will be taken into consideration at the point you're writing the product paper. For me, for people who are working, and maybe let's say you're working in an organization and then you want to take a loan from from my bank will find out from your organization what your end entitlements are. By the time you're leaving that place, what are they going to pay you? So there'll be an undertaking that whatever comes to you, the bank will have recourse to whatever comes to you first. They'll take their own before they give you or your people, depending on whether the case is permanent disability or death. Do you understand? That person will sign it before the loan is disbursed. I'm also thinking that in this case, there must be something. You can't just give out loans like that. There must be something you're tying it to. Assuming the person, if there's permanent disability or death, there must be something on the product paper that will take care of that. Because before you give out money, you must watch your back. What if it goes back? It goes bad. How do I get my money back? So those that are writing the product paper, those that are, disbursing the loan, they would have thought of this and put that into consideration. And before the person Jackpa, the Jackpa syndrome, all the people that have taken loan, I'm sure they will have a database to know the people that have taken loan, to know, when they are, there must be something to flag off the fact that they're leaving or they're Jackpare. Well, I don't think so. They said there's something about, I keep on saying this, what is not measured is not achieved. If you give somebody free education from primary to secondary school, he might not value it. From secondary school, maybe you might decide to give free education from secondary school, but as soon as they enter in tertiary, institutions, they have to pay. I don't know any place that is free except you're on a scholarship. I don't know any place in the world. I don't know. Maybe there are places that they give free education to university level. You have to pay at some point. For you to value it, you have to pay. For you to be able to appreciate it, you have to pay. But the level of payment, the amount you pay is what we might be thinking about. But if it is just free of charge, personally, I don't believe that you should go to, end university education without payment. You can only do that if you have a scholarship. Even if you get a loan, you're still paying. So I don't believe in free education at that level. Okay, looking at the educational system in Nigeria, we have failed our children. We have failed in all scores. You don't even know when the session starts and when it ends. Incessant strikes here and there. Where do I start from? When you go to universities, you don't even want to be there. You see students sitting on the staircase, every place crowded. It doesn't even give you the ambience of a school. They're screaming and shouting and all that. That alone is enough to say, hey, this is not on. So for me as an individual, education system in Nigeria is a put off. There has to be total re-engineering, retooling of education in this country. It might not be a one-day thing, maybe gradually. Maybe now that they are giving loans and I hear they are increasing school fees, maybe they will just start from, year one students and trying to, re-engineer, retool them. And I don't get it. It's just, for me, it's totally messed up.